What's going on, guys, and welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV for the pre-match fan show. And yeah, we got me and Sim here, and you've got Arsenal fan Lee Judges here. Lee, welcome to the channel. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Thanks for having us, you know. So in enemy territory.
No, so I'm saying we've had you on the channel a couple of times.
Yeah.
Now it's
good to get you actually in the studio, face to face.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you know what I mean. So looking forward to it. Like,
exactly, we can see the white of your eyes when we're talking about the North London derby this weekend. It's a massive game, obviously very early on in the season. What I want to talk to you, Lee, before we get into the game. Let's talk about Harry Kane and let's talk about England. Because why can you not celebrate a Harry Kane goal for England? Tell me why.
Why? Because for 9 months, I'm I don't like him. You know what I mean? So I don't want him to do well. But so I've always been there. Probably bad of me, really. But I blame my dad because he was the same, sort of brought up on that. So I don't. So I never used to, be honest, and this is a bad thing of me, I have told this story, I didn't celebrate Teddy Sheringham's goals when he played for Spurs, but I've met Teddy Sheringham and get on really well with him. He's a really nice guy.
Did you tell him?
So yeah, he called me to see you in. I'm not saying what he said after that, you know. So, but we get on really well. So it's really bad that I do think that. And look, listen, Harry Kane's a good player, but that's the way it is, you know. But look, what about Harry Kane? You know, I've got to say this. Is he dropped into midfield to try and get his transfer fee down? Because, you know, midfielders are not as worth as much as strikers, are they not? You know, so
yeah, tell that to Kevin De Bruyne.
You know, well,
Aubameyang committing his future hasn't exactly helped, has it?
No, his price has gone down. So his wages have gone up and his price has gone down. Like, you know.
Wait, so is that a blanket rule for any Spurs player? You don't celebrate if they score a goal for England, or just Harry Kane?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them. There's only one player that I've celebrated, and that's it. One player, because
Who was that?
Because I know him, like, you know what I mean. So and that's
was
Ryan
it?
Mason, like,
Ryan
you know, so I
Mason.
know his dad. So me and his dad grew up as we're friends. So I've known Ryan since he was a kid. So I have actually gone to Spurs games, watching him. But it was a great day when he decided to leave. But you know, unfortunately things didn't work out for him there. But yeah, so I have gone to a few Spurs games. But obviously after getting involved with all this sort of stuff, I had to stop going. I had to stop going for safety reasons. So there you go.
Fair enough. But moving on to the game, as a kind of like outsider from Spurs at the moment, I mean, how do you assess kind of Nuno regime has started so far at Spurs? How do you think we're doing so far this season?
Well, bit hit and miss, I suppose, a bit like Arsenal, I suppose, if you look at it now. I think in the first, you know, fine margins in games, isn't it? You know, Manchester City probably should have been 2 or 3 up before Spurs scored, and get the result against Man City, you're thinking, well, it's going well. Then
Wait, so they never had a shot on goal the whole game, Man City.
Well, I don't know. I mean, well, they did. They missed a couple of like open goals. Always seems to do it against you. Man City missed chance
I would
after chance.
say, I would say in previous years that was true, but I think this year I don't think that was the case, to be honest.
They had, like, right at the beginning of the game, they had a couple.
Couple of shots. You know, I didn't think Man City played that well, to be honest. But you know, you got the result, and you think to yourself, "Well, this is, you know, his first game of the season to beat Man City. That's a bonus. I don't care what anybody says." But then, you know, 2-1-0 games, and then you're top of the league. When the international break come along, weren't you? Like, and a certain team was bottom, you know. So you imagine I got a lot of stick. I was just saying to you earlier on that one of my Spurs mates put the old Spurs, because you had those flags flying in that bloody game or whatever. Like, so I had a Spurs flag posted through my door. So thank you very much for that. You know what I mean? It certainly went on the fire. But anyway, yeah. So. And then like the last couple of games, well, and I've got to ask a question about Nuno, because I don't know why managers do this, even at a professional level. Your best player or defender was the right back. I can't say his name. Tanganga. Played at right back, brilliant. Absolute find of the season, you know what I mean, like right back. Then you go against Crystal Palace and you put him in a central defender, i.e. he gets sent off. You lose the game 3-0.
We had a lack of options. That was the thing.
Really? Well, you had Rondon on the bench.
Rodon was on the bench, yeah, fair enough. But, you know, Romero was quarantining, Sanchez was quarantining, Dyer got injured in the first 15 minutes of the game. So it was very difficult. Nuno was kind of forced in his hand in that game.
Well, I felt, you know, he was playing really well at right back, and I just think, you know, it cost you. You know, it cost you with the sending off, and you know, Zaha had a field day on the left hand side, which is a good player, as we know. And of course, you know, I was sending all my Spurs mates the old Patrick Vieira smile, you know, a picture which was very, very good. Go on, Patrick.
Don't worry. The old Vieira chants are running right. Don't you worry about that.
So good old Patrick. Well done, Patrick. Because then we went to the game after that. We hadn't won a game by then, and of course it was all Vieira songs going into the Emirates. But
that's what's become Arsenal.
And then the game against Chelsea. I thought first half, I'm thinking, God, it's going to happen again. You know what I mean? Like Tottenham, Chelsea didn't really look like they was at it, but that's, I think, more credit to Tottenham. But then second half, wow. If I was a Chelsea fan, I would have been annoyed that it was only 3. I would like to have rubbed it in, but first half it could have been different. So I think it's a bit of a mixed bag with Spurs. I always say, I think with Spurs, and I'm being really honest when I say this, you've got some poor players, a little bit like Arsenal, but you have 2 world-class players, and they will get you out of the mire more than not.
Do Arsenal have any world-class players?
Not at this moment in time.
So.
I don't think so. Partey could.
They got a world-class cone man. That's what they got.
They got a world-class what?
Cone man.
Got a cone man. Well, I don't know about that. But I think we've potentially got some world-class players, potentially young players coming through. Saka, Smith Rowe, Odegaard. They potentially could be top class. But at this moment in time, generally world-class players, you would say that Tottenham have got 2, and I think, at a push, I'd say Partey because of injuries. If once he's fit and up and running, we'll see. But then that's why Spurs are in this game and in other games. If you keep yourselves in it, you've always got them 2 that can get you out of it.
That's true.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. With those 2 players as well, they both scored against Arsenal last year, didn't they?
They always score against Arsenal, right? So.
But in terms of going back to Aubameyang, since he signed that contract, do you think his head's not in it anymore at Arsenal?
I think I look at there's two trains of thought with this. One is that I think that he signed the contract and was promised things, because if you sign a big contract like that, basically he could have gone to other clubs for nothing, and probably we didn't know the pandemic was coming, but he could have had an option with a lot of clubs. But I think that things were maybe promised to him. Midfield players, etc., and it didn't happen. So he maybe just.
Well, you got a Thomas Partey, didn't you?
We did get Thomas Partey, but I think he even spoke about, it'd be good when a while comes, and we never got that, and a couple of little things there. So I don't know if that's one. The other one is a system that Arsenal plays very, very negative. Under Arteta, I watched it even against Wimbledon. I know we won 3-0. It was 1-0 for quite a while, and I thought, well, this ain't a pressure game. Just look and see what's happening with the system. And as soon as Arsenal lose the ball, the 2 wide players, attacking options, have to get back behind the ball. So I think that the tactic is, right, make sure you get behind the ball. When I play, sometimes the manager say, right, as soon as you lose it, you've got to get behind the ball, and then you go from there. Of course, what that does then is leave the one man up front very isolated. And if you haven't got the hold-up skills of a Lukaku or Harry Kane or someone like that, which is Aubameyang's weakest part of his game, you ain't going to get so much. So I think maybe system is costly.
And also his, I know his players last a lot longer nowadays, but he was so reliant on his speed, wasn't he, Aubameyang? Does he still have that?
Yeah, he's still got that. He's still got that pace. But I think defenders are still, have got a quick, aren't they? Like most defenders are quick as well, like these days. So he's, he has got that there. Listen, what's been the worrying thing for me with him is that he's had good chances. He's still getting in the positions for the chance, but he's not putting them away. And that one way you look at it and say, well, he's creating the chances or getting the chances, but he's not putting them away. But one of those things, I think, free-flowing Arsenal, you used to probably think, well, I'll get 2 or 3 chances. Now you're only going to get 1. So you probably snatch it or something like that. So
is that solely down to the manager and his tactics?
Well, as I was saying, 2 trains of thought, and I think that maybe that is one of them. Yeah, I do think that the system is not probably helping him. Where I look at Tottenham, the system is built, or it was over the last couple of seasons, for Song and Kane.
Yeah, it was. But moving on to the game kind of thing, I was going to ask you, maybe tell me where Arsenal's flaws are, but I'm going to ask you where Arsenal's strengths are, because there's not many strengths in there. So tell me, where do you think Arsenal's strengths are, and where can the game be won and lost this weekend?
I honestly think, like most games, midfield. I think midfield is key area, and I think that both teams have got weaknesses in there, and but so we could exploit yours, you could exploit ours. So depending on who we play, and I think the same with you, depending on who you play, you know. So, but I think that will be a key battle.
Do you expect Xhaka to come straight back in?
Well, this is the thing, you know. I know that I put a thing up on Twitter today about that, whether because I don't think that he should, but I think that he will.
Think you will?
Yeah, I think that he will. You know,
Who will he coming in place of?
I don't know, because this is someone said this on my channel yesterday that he's in all the 3 games that Xhaka's been out, he's changed the midfield. So he hasn't given that opportunity for someone to nail down a place. You know, so whether that's very, very clever of him, so that he can actually bring him back. I didn't really think of that, but that is a good point. I think Arsenal, you know, surprised me, if I'll be honest, with the way we went against Burnley, because I thought we'd have played Lokonga in there, who, by the way, is going to be a really, really good player for us if he stays injury free. I thought we would have played him because it was against Burnley, a little bit more physical. But he went with Odegaard and Smith Rowe in there, so I'd like to see them two again against Tottenham on Sunday, because I think that quick players moving it around quick will be better for us. But we'll have to wait and see. But I've got a funny feeling that our old mate Granit's going to be in the team, like, you know.
You expect Pepe and Saka both to be on the wing?
Yeah, I think because of I don't know what everybody thinks about Pepe, but I think that he's got tremendous talent, but doesn't do enough for me with that talent. That's my opinion, you know. But I think he's on borrowed time now. I don't think he's really? He's not really set the team alight the last 3 games. Didn't play on Wednesday, wasn't part of the squad on Wednesday, so I'd imagine that he's going to be given the go on Sunday. And I think it's, you know, time to deliver Pepe. Like, you know, he's got to deliver, and because he has got ability, he can beat a player for fun, but he doesn't do it enough for me.
He always seems to like have a flurry of goals at the end of seasons. At the end of the season, he'll score like 5 or 6 goals or 7 goals, but doesn't do anything throughout the rest of the season.
No, and he's got to start doing it now. You know, you can look at that and say, because it's the end of the season, a lot of players are on holiday at that sort of stage. It's not such intense games, which is true. Which intense tomorrow on Sunday it will be. And he's got a very, very good finisher, by the way. When he gets in one-on-ones, he genuinely finishes. So, but he needs to start. You know, performing, and there's no better place than Sunday against Spurs.
Definitely.
Do you think there's, you know, you've given Saka the number 7 shirt, you've given Smith Rowe the number 10 shirt this season. Do you think they're ready for that kind of responsibility to hold? I know it's only a shirt number, but like what it represents is like how big of a player they're going to be for you. And like, I know Saka's like 19, 20, Smith Rowe also 20. They're good players, but are they good enough at the moment to be leading players for Arsenal?
Well, they shouldn't be. The fact of the matter is, you know, I go back to, and I was saying this the other day, you know, Liam Brady was a fantastic player for Arsenal. You guys won't remember him, but he was a fantastic player. Glenn Hoddle was a fantastic player for Spurs. But when they was 18, 19, you know, they weren't relied on at Tottenham. Tottenham and Arsenal, by the way, when they was probably... I think that the most older fans would turn around and say that Liam Brady and Glenn Hoddle were 2 of the best midfield players to ever grace Arsenal and Spurs at the time. But when they was playing then, both teams were struggling at the bottom of the league, believe it or not, in the mid-70s and that. But they wasn't relied on, you know. And if you ever go back and watch those games revisited and all that, you know, the Glenn Hoddle and Liam Brady weren't the Liam Brady and Glenn Hoddle that they become. But they were 18, 19, finding their way through it to become the legends that they were. But now you're asking players like Saka to be taking Arsenal forward. Look, listen, he's good enough to do it, but you know, at 19 years of age, you should be learning your trade and like relying on other players to be guiding you a little bit more. And that is a problem with Arsenal. They are going to be very, very good players. And Saka is a very, very good player. He's no... someone like Cesc Fabregas is it's a one-off, you know, when he's 16, 17 dominating games, is a one-off, you know, but, you know, a freak, if I'll be honest, you know, to be doing it at that age. So I don't think you should be like. And then when he goes and plays for England, he's got good players all around him, he shines. Because he hasn't got the pressure of, I've got to do things here and make things happen. And that, you know, like where... with Tottenham, you can put the pressure on Harry Kane and Song, because they've got the experience to be able to handle that.
What do you think it is about North London derbies where the home team really always not always, but most times comes out on top, and it really is the home team that has the ascendancy in the North London derby?
I think it's a massive thing. You know, that, like, what it does show you over the years is, and well, over the last few years, there's not a great difference between both teams, but ultimately home advantage is key. As we were saying earlier on, you know, Arsenal, when they was, you know, winning leagues, and I'll get that in mind here, winning leagues and being invincible and that, would win comfortably at home. But going to White Hart Lane was a difficult game. You know, we'd come out of there with some well fought draws and the odd occasional defeat when we was so much better. But now, as I say, we were saying Thomas Rosicky was the last time that Arsenal won a league game there, or Flamini.
And
if
Van
you
der
want to
Vaart
go
was the last time we won league.
Yeah, so I do think, and I always say that, you know what I mean. I've always said that about North London derbies, and you know, I'm never being arrogant when I say this. You know, win the home game, draw the away game. You know, but if you can't win it, bloody don't lose it, and that's it. If someone said to me now, what would you take? Like, you know, I'd say I'd take a draw at home, a draw away. I don't ever want to lose. You know what I mean?
We'll never have to think about it.
Yeah. I'd say that because I wouldn't want someone saying, "Oh, that's only going to get 2 points." Yeah, but you could, listen. If we win, it's great. If we lose, it's not so great. So I always, I just don't want to lose against Tottenham. That's the main priority for me.
I remember feeling like that when our first North London derby at White Hart at the new stadium. Like I remember feeling like obviously I want to win, but like I do not want to lose our first North London derby.
No.
So I'll take a draw. I'll literally take a draw.
We lost to West Ham, we lost to Chelsea, but we couldn't have lost to bloody Arsenal.
I'm not losing to Arsenal in our first North London derby. Not happening. Obviously we did win in the end, but do you think Arsenal, on the back of 3 consecutive wins, are they maybe buoyant going into, not buoyant, but a bit of momentum, or do you think the wins paper over the cracks of what's happening?
Well, I don't know, because I think this game is going to tell us a lot about Arsenal and Mikel Arteta, and next week's game against Brighton. The first couple of games, I'm not saying you can write it off. You've had it with Crystal Palace when you had a lot of injuries, and this is his team now. You know, we the whole back four is completely different. So for the first 2 games, I think you've got to build a little bit of confidence and everything. Look, if you lose 5-0 and 2, your game against Chelsea, we was never in it. I know, you actually got beat by us by more, but you was in the game at half time until the second half. We was never really in it. And Manchester City, well, I was quite happy to get out with 5, so that shows you. So, confidence has got to be built. How you build confidence? Keeping clean sheets. I know that it's only against Norwich and it's against Burnley, but there's no easy games in the Premier League, and I'm sure when you go up there in the League Cup at Burnley, you might get through, but it won't be easy.
No, it won't be it will be a tough ride for sure.
So, and so we've got the results there. So we're building foundations to go on, but it's key. Obviously, this game's key. We're at home as well. We need to put in a performance more. Forget whether it's Spurs or not. We just need to keep winning games and show that we are getting back. At this moment in time, no one's convinced, But if
jury out on Arteta, right?
Jury, because I think he needs, from me, he needs to convince me that he's the man. At the moment, a win against Norwich and a 1-0 win against Burnley and Norwich is not convincing me. A nice little win against Spurs will help. I'm not saying if we was to beat Spurs 1-2-0, that ain't going to say, oh right, yeah, everything's all right with Mikel. He's got to go on a run, and part of that run is beating Spurs. It's the same with you guys. You had 3 wins. Whatever happens on Sunday for you will define a little bit. I think it's more important that Arsenal than Tottenham, if I'll be honest. But you'll be looking at this and going, right, what's your manager got? What has he got? Has he got the things that we need to take us on? And I think that both teams are in that position at the moment where standards, I think, have dropped. When you look at what Pochettino done at Tottenham, I always say this when I come out of White Hart Lane and you beat us 2-0, which was the last time. It was the last game at White Hart Lane before
last
that.
North London derby at White Hart Lane.
Last North London. We was outplayed.
Yeah.
and I've never ever seen Arsenal be like comfortably beaten in a North London derby all through my time. I thought, whoa, this is problems, you know what I mean? Like, but it didn't kick on because you had to go to Wembley and all that. Like, but because of that, I think standards at Tottenham, I'm not saying because of whatever, have just dropped a little bit because they was hard standards to keep up with.
They were hard standards. And talking about kind of Arsenal standards and Mikel Arteta, I mean, if you do come to defeat this weekend, how much pressure is the guy? I know he's under pressure already, but how much more pressure is he under?
Oh, untold pressure. Untold pressure if you lose that game. I think that look back at cool go.
Back up? Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah, so I remember saying to you about Mourinho, and you said, no, he won't get sacked. And I said, but that defeat against Arsenal, I think, was one of the nails in the coffin. So, you know,
I agree.
it's a massive game for Mikel Arteta. Listen, he hasn't got the Arsenal fans on his side. There's no two ways about that. Like, you know, a lot of them are on the fence, a lot have jumped on the fence. But look, beating Tottenham and getting a run of wins and that will get them back on the fence. I'm not saying it's going to...
Where do you stand?
I'm not convinced of him. I'll be honest. I see games and you go back to the game when you beat us at White Hart Lane last year. You knew exactly how Tottenham and Mourinho was going to set up, and he just played straight into his hands. So I didn't like things like that. So for me, I think that there are problems. And I'm not convinced. I tell you what, though, he would convince me if he was to beat Spurs convincingly, then go and beat Brighton, then go and beat Villa, go and beat Palace, and then you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 games on the spin. And I can then turn around and go, well, he's got his signings, and I would be a little bit more convinced. But it's going to take more than a win against Spurs, if I'll be honest.
After 2 consecutive 8th place finishes under Arteta, where does he need to finish this season to be stable in his job? Do you think? Where do you think he needs to finish?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's got a... Listen, we ain't challenging for the title, and I don't think we're going to challenge for top 4 this season. So, top 6 and above you lot. I think
if it's 7th place, you don't think that's good enough. He's got...
No. I think he's got to get higher than that. I think he's got to get higher than that. And he's got to get higher than you boys as well.
The truth is
that enough though? Just finishing?
Not really.
Tottenham,
Not really. No, of course it's not. You know what I mean? Like, but you got to start somewhere.
If I'd said last season you were going to finish 8th at the end of the season, you would have probably said that's not good enough.
Bin him off.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's why Arsenal fans are like it is. You look at Tottenham, and whether you think it's right or whether you don't, and what the circumstances were, Mourinho failed to where you wanted to get him, so you got rid of him.
Yeah.
So, you know, Arsenal go down a different... Probably Arsenal have never been a sacking club as managers. It's been there's been managers in my time that have probably... And I've 3 or 4 managers in my... I've had more managers in the last 4 or 5 years than I've had for all before that, you know. But there's probably a few that probably should have gone a little bit earlier than what they have. But Tottenham, you know...
We hire and fire regularly.
And you can think what you like on that, but ultimately Mourinho failed.
But back on Arteta though, does he have enough at his disposal to get where you guys want to be, or even challenging to where you want to be?
Do you have a better squad than Spurs? Do you think you have a better squad than Spurs right now?
Maybe, but as I said earlier on, I think that Tottenham, you know, can hide away from things like that because they've got the 2 world class players. You know, you can argue about the goalkeepers. You can, you know, I think Gabriel's a good player, by the way. But I don't know. I think that's a tough one. I think that I think over the last sort of... Listen, you can go back to Wenger's great days and all that. Not one Spurs player would get into the Arsenal team. Then over the last 10 years, you know, there was more Spurs players getting into the Arsenal team.
I think if you do a combined 11 now, no more than 3 Arsenal players get in.
No more than 3.
Yeah, and I'll tell you which 3. Probably Saka, Partey, and if I'm going to give you one more, maybe one of your centre-back, Gabriel, maybe.
Tierney would, like Gabriel would.
I don't know if Gabriel's not a cert, but I think the other three, Tierney, Saka, and
I've seen your right back twice, and I've seen our right back twice. I know which one I'd have at the moment, but you
can't call that.
So you can't call that. So I'll go along with that. Lloris is a good goalkeeper, I think, but he's prone to the odd mistake. Ramsdale at the moment hasn't made a mistake, so I don't know.
Yeah,
so
Ramsdale's faced a tough Burnley and Norwich attack. You know what I mean?
I'd have Odegaard over any of your midfield players, because I just think, like,
you serious?
Yeah. Who would you have?
Instead of Odegaard, I'd put Ndombele in there.
Well, I think he's a good player, but he lasts about 40 minutes, doesn't he?
But what 40 minutes?
It is a good fight.
It's an Odegaard.
Well, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like Odegaard, I think he's going to be a very, very good player. Skip wouldn't get in front of Partey, and that, like. Højbjerg, I think he's a player that you don't. He's not a great player, but he's a player that don't. He's one of those players that take him out of the team, and you realise he's not a bad player. Do you know what I mean? Like, if he's in the team, you don't think you think like
exactly.
that. So I can go the two up front. I think you've got Song's got to get in there at the moment. Like, as I say, like
Son on the left, Kane up top, and Saka on the right.
I would probably go with that. Aubameyang wouldn't get near it at this moment in time, and like Harry Kane, as poor as he's been for Tottenham at the moment, you can't write him off. You can't write him off.
Yeah,
but I think it's
Saka's not exactly had the best season so far, has he?
No, he hasn't. We was talking about this the other day. I don't think any England player has. If you go through the whole England squad, Pickford's not even playing. I don't think I don't think Stones has played that many games. Maguire's been a bit shaky. Shaw ain't played very, very. Walker hasn't. So like all of them have been a little bit like
Grealish has had the best start to
Grealish, So Sterling's not hardly played.
I didn't even notice that, but you're right.
So there's not really that many of.
On Kane.
So of course they do, and if you have a look at it, not really any of them have really have done too much. So but you listen. Those players are good players. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been where they are. But I would say, like 2 or 3 seasons ago, we would have struggled getting in 2 or 3 players. We never heard of him, even going through all of my Arsenal and Spurs times. You know what I mean? Like you go back to the 80s and all that. Like we'd get 4 or 5 in, but there was that stage when there was only 2 or 3. But now, like, listen, and football can change so quickly. Look at Dele Alli. Dele Alli would have got in. Most of those combination teams a couple of years ago, you know what I mean? But
he's a CDM now, so
yeah, just it's a straight. Football can change very, very quickly.
Definitely true.
Yeah.
But before we get some fans starts calling in show, what is your prediction for the weekend?
5-0 the Arsenal.
5-0.
I think it's going to be tight. How can you predict on an Arsenal Spurs game? As I say it now, I will say it now. Because we're at home, I fancy this because we're at home. If it was the other way around, if it was at Tottenham, I'll be honest and say that I'd fancy you guys. But because we're at home, I just think that maybe we nick it. But it's too close to call, really. So. But I've got to be confident, especially in here. I've got to go for an Arsenal win.
What score though?
Well, listen. Bloody Harry Kane doesn't score, and it doesn't look like bloody scoring, but he'll score.
He's going to do it again, that bastard, Harry Kane.
You know he's going to do. He's going to score. So Harry Kane will get 1, but I'm going to go 2-1.
2-1. Kane penalty.
Well,
he likes a penalty.
He loves a penalty against Arsenal, right? You know what I mean? So do you know when he takes a penalty against Arsenal? And I think he's had, maybe 3 or 4. Yeah, he's never going to miss.
Yeah,
he ain't never going to miss. And I'll tell you what, like you can, talk about Harry Kane, whether he wants to leave leave Spurs or not, which obviously he did want to. This game is a different game where he'll perform in this game. I think Harry Kane is in a difficult position what he actually does, because if he plays really, really well and scores loads of goals, he's not going to be able to move. So what does he do? Does he just go through the motions and just?
If he does that, will he get his move?
Well, he's got a better chance because
I think if
Tottenham
he has a poor season this year, is anyone really spending the money that Levy wants on him?
At 29 years of age.
Yeah, this is the predicament he's got, but I think he's got a better chance of move. Do you know, how I put it to you is that I had 3 sensational seasons with Alexis Sanchez. I mean, sensational. Mm-hmm. And then in the last season when we didn't let him go at Man City, he from August to January, he was a completely different player. Harry Kane might be thinking, well, I can do the same. That might get me out of here. I don't know. You know.
Do you think that's how the players actually think, or do you think it's more of a subconscious thing?
A little bit subconscious. I think that, in my opinion, Harry Kane feels that something was said, because whatever you think about Harry Kane, he's ultimate professional, quality player, but for him to go on strike or do what he done, he obviously felt there was something promised. But I don't know. It's a real difficult one on that. Like, I suppose the Spurs fans are split on this, because I know some Spurs fans are now saying, I wish we had got rid of him or whatever.
Yeah, but it's people saying that at the moment, but there's only 5 games in, you know what I mean?
It's all about the circumstances, though, and if you don't get the right bid, he's not going to go, you know what I mean?
No, and I agree with that. If I think that if Man City, what they're saying there is that they said they only offered 75 million. Well, that's, come on, he's £100 million player.
I mean, they offered more for Jack bloody Grealish than Harry Kane.
Yeah, so, but Jack Grealish is a little bit younger. The problem Harry Kane's got is is he 28 now, 29 or 28?
28, yeah.
He's 28. You know, if you're going to buy him for 100 whatever million, there ain't nothing after that, like, so.
Ronaldo went for 100 at 33. Or 34.
Yeah, but you put in Harry Kane into that bracket now.
Like if Harry Kane goes to Man City, he's scoring bucket loads of goals every season.
Well, listen, I think you're right. I think that if Harry Kane would have signed for Man City would be favourites for the league. They're not favourites for the league now because they haven't got centre forward.
Exactly.
So for them, I think it's bad on them that they didn't go out and get. That they left him a little bit. Like, they
left him high and dry.
Left him high and dry a little bit, yeah, because he's come out and basically said he wants to go, so he's done his part realistically, and they haven't gone through with their part.
Facts of the matter is they thought they could bully Spurs into just.
Listen, if Harry Kane was promised that he could leave for 100 million, then that's and then Man City are bidding 75, then Harry Kane has got to say, well, that's not right. I'm going to, so he should have actually been going to them and saying, bid the 100 million.
Apparently, it's speculation, but apparently Levy was basing Kane's valuation on how much Arsenal paid for Ben White, and that was 50 million. Yeah, you got to say, if Ben White is 50, like, come on, Kane is at least 120, 140.
Exactly, but that doesn't work like that. Harry Maguire was 80 million. You know what I mean? Like, Harry Kane's a better player than Maguire, but they're different positions. And I do think there is that thing with the English player, that there is that little bit more money involved. I honestly think premium. And I honestly think if it weren't for the pandemic, it messed Harry Kane up for a move to Barcelona or Real Madrid. I think that
I don't think he wanted to go there, though.
No, well, so it's difficult when you
You just want him out of Tottenham.
Listen, I'm going to be really honest. I hope he stays there and carries on doing what he's doing. Not playing well and all that, because one, you ain't getting the Harry Kane of last year and the years, and you ain't getting the money.
He's had slow starts to the season before, and he's ended up golden boot winner.
Yeah, he once went 9 games out.
Yes, he is, but he didn't want to put in transfer requests and say that he wanted to leave. So it's a difficult one. How it goes. I don't know if he feels let down by Levy or whatever. These are things.
I think the whole club let down by Levy. You know what I mean? Not just Harry Kane, the fan base, the players, everything.
And you have to ask yourself the question: why did he sign the contract? Because he would have been out to go for nothing.
Well, it looked like we were going in the right direction when he did sign the contract.
Yeah. So there's all circumstances to it. It'd be very interesting to see how it pans out.
I'm talking about ownership. Like, were you at the protests for the Super League last year?
For the Cronkies, yeah.
Against the Cronkies.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, there was a smaller protest, unfortunately, when Spurs did it last year for the Super League against Levy. Like, what do you think of those protests from a Tottenham point? Like, looking at obviously.
Listen, I look at Tottenham.
Yeah.
I look at Tottenham, and you can have a go at Levy. You can do whatever you want, but he's there every week.
Mm-hmm.
Our owner's not. So from that point of view, I'm not. I can never have a go at Levy for that, because that's what I want my own. I'm not saying that it's what he's doing is great. I don't know what goes on at Spurs, but ultimately, when I look up to the director's box and we're playing crap, I see an empty seat. When you are seeing Levy there, and I don't care. He goes up and down the country, so it means that he does care. Now, Manchester United have thrown money after money, and they're not happy with their owner. So I don't know where you go with it. Like, you know what I mean? I think that Levy cares about Spurs. So I don't think that can be brought into question. But with our owners, I can't say that because they're never there.
But do you think these protests work? Are they going to make any sort of change?
Personally, no. You know what I mean? Do you think Levy's worried what you think and what?
No, not at all.
Do you think Kroenke's worried what I think? Of course not. You know what I mean? Like they're going to do what they want to do.
What do you think of the forums he did over the summer and all that stuff? Those fan forums, didn't they?
PR stuff, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, where are they now? You know, he said to, like, you know, be excited. Well, I haven't been excited for about 3 years now.
You spent a fair bit of money this summer.
We have spent some money this season, like, you know. Sometimes you have to spend a bit of money, like, which on not glamorous signings, but you have to fill in on players that are going to do the job. I like what Arsenal have done with big signings now, like Gabriel, Partey, big strong players down the spine. You know what I mean? Like a goalkeeper, we say we don't know what's going on. Tommy Hasu looks like he's going to be a decent player. So they're not glamorous signings, but you still need that one, don't you? Like, you know, an exciting signing every now and then.
Do you think that your transfer policy you've done this summer might be forcing Arteta? Might be forcing your hand when it comes to sacking Arteta in a weird way, because you spent a lot of money on a lot of young players who clearly you've bought to fit Arteta's vision, and then if you're going to do that, you need to give a manager a long-term project, and if you're not going to give him that, then are these players going to fit the next manager's project, and you might be stuck in a bit of a
that's a great question. But don't bother Chelsea. You know what I mean? Like their structures and things like that. I know there's a different level, but they don't think, oh, we just bought so and so Lukaku. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't work at Chelsea, you're out. And I kind of like that.
I think it's a bit different because Chelsea are buying world-class talent for the here and the now.
Who can play for anyone?
Yeah,
who can play for anyone? You're buying players in Arteta's image, kind of thing.
No, young players, very young.
We're bringing in young players. I think that's. Listen, I think that somewhere along the line you can't compare Chelsea and Man City to the likes of Arsenal and Spurs, because we're in different things. So we like for instance, right, with Chelsea, they buy Werner for 50 million. Like, oh, that ain't worked, so we're going and buy Lukaku the next season. Yeah. Arsenal and Spurs and other teams, Liverpool as well, you can put into this category, have got to make sure that when they buy these players that they get it right. Otherwise, you know. And not every transfer is going to be right, as you know, but it puts pressure on the transfer people to make sure they get that right, because they haven't got to worry, because they've got to worry about it. But ultimately, listen, you know, if Arteta can't get a tune out of these players, and Arsenal have got some good players, which they shouldn't be at the bottom of the league. So the only way that Mikel Arteta is going to save his job, guys, is if he wins games. The same as Nuno. You know what I mean? Nuno's at the moment, he's got a little bit of credit because he's new. But ultimately, if he was to lose 5 games on the trot, I don't care. If you was to lose your next 5 games, I'll bet you that. I'll say it now. Like, Nuno will be gone. You know, if you're bottom of the league come the end of October, it's gone. Yeah, so you've got to win games of football. It doesn't matter what players you buy and whatever. You've got to win games of football. So when you take a job like Tottenham and Arsenal, you're going to have pressure, and you've got to make sure that you get the results. It's as simple as that. It's tough for Arsenal and Spurs to compete. To get into the top 4 is very, very difficult, because 2 of them, I personally think, in Chelsea and Man City, are done deals.
Yeah.
So I
think all 4 are done deal.
So you've really got to be competing with Manchester United and Liverpool to get. That's tough.
And they just signed Ronaldo and Varane.
They just signed them. And Sancho, who, by the way, £74 million, and is not even really going to get in the team this year, but they can afford to do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're going for an Arsenal win, Sim. What are you going for?
I'm going to go for a Spurs win, 2-1.
2-1 Spurs.
Just 2-1 away win, first win since 2010.
I'm going for a Spurs win as well. I'm going to go for 2-0. I'm going to go for Arsenal not to get a goal, and that's not delusion, by the way. That's not delusion. That is going on. You know, the defence that we're going to play this weekend is pretty much the same setup as we had the first 3 games when we did keep 3 clean sheets, including one against Man City. So I think that with a Romero and a Dyer at the back with Tanganga on the right and Reguilon on the left, with a Skippy and a Højbjerg in front protecting the back four. I really think we can hold you out this weekend. I really think that.
Hope he's right.
Well, I'll have what you're having tonight then.
Brilliant.
All right, cool. Let's go on to some callers, and I can see Phil there waiting in the back. Let's bring in Phil.
Phil.
I don't have headphones.
Yeah,
You don't have
right.
headphones on.
You got headphones, go on. Phil, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, good, thank you.
This is
yeah.
Lee. You can ask Lee a question. I ask a question. You can just go and give your thoughts.
No, I'm probably just going to say I think this one at Emirates, I think you've already covered it off, but it's almost like form goes out the window. You know, for us, it's about our mentality. If we're going to step up, then there's no reason we shouldn't win. But you have that big if. And last year was prime example of that. We just never looked even close to getting anything last year. And you know that's such a monumental thing Nuno's got to deal with, I reckon.
Do you think Spurs have a better squad than Arsenal, Phil?
Yeah.
How? Where do you see Arsenal finishing this season?
8th or 9th.
Is that a fair position?
I wouldn't argue that at the moment, like, because obviously it's a little bit unknown at the moment. I agree, you know, but 8th or 9th is not good enough. So we'll have to see. But like, I do think that as well at this moment in time, Arsenal and Spurs will be in and around that area, and that ain't good enough for both teams.
Do you think you have the 8th best squad?
No. I think that. I think there's always. Listen, I think if someone like Conte was managing Arsenal, no one anybody would turn around and say Arsenal are an 8th team. But I think because we've got an inexperienced manager who's not really pulling up trees, I'll be honest. You know what I mean? Like, listen, when my Spurs mates turn around and say, "I hope you beat Norwich," because they want to keep Arteta, that tells you everything you want to know. So, like Spurs fans wanting us to win a game, so that tells you everything you want to know.
Phil, where do you think Arsenal's biggest strengths lie? Anyone you're afraid of going to North London Derby?
No, I mean, if you go through the team, the 3 or 4 guys that you mentioned could get into our squad. You're probably right. Your 2 fullbacks, probably there or thereabouts. The Thomas guy in the middle, he's pretty spot on. Your strikers, you seem to be very lacking now, but I think that's more down to they just don't seem that fussed. It's almost like, are they both in their last year, or is it just Lacazette in his last year? No,
just Lacazette in his last year, and I agree with you. Like, you know, Pepe, I think has been he's a decent player, but he's not for me lived up to the reputation that he should have. Forget about transfer fee; he should still be doing more than what he's doing. And and I can see, like, you know, you look at people like, and you just think that he should be doing more. That's my opinion, you know, and I think as neutrals, people would say that as well. I don't think, Phil, if you be honest, you ain't fearing Pepe on Sunday,
No.
and that's wrong. You know what I mean? With the talent that he's got, you should be, but that's where we are at the moment at Arsenal, and that's the problem.
I mean, it'd be tough to say, but he's a similar sort of, or feels a similar character to Ndombele, who should be setting the world alight.
Yeah,
part of the game, some of the game. You know, first half the other night he was phenomenal. Second half he was okay. Second half against Chelsea was like, really? And then, but he's almost like you want him there because while he's there, there's a chance that something's going to happen. Yeah,
I think that's a great point. I think that is you're spot on with that, like, yeah.
Did you think Pepe has an attitude problem, or you don't?
No, I don't think it's an attitude with him. I think sometimes down the line, same with Ndombele and him, they've got so much talent, and they've had it from a young age that that gets you to a certain level. But then to go on and and be the best you can. Look at Ronaldo. You know, you're telling me that he got to a certain level and he said, you know what, I'm not happy to get to this level. I want to go up even further and I want to be the best. Look at his body, look at his, you know, I look at Pepe, you can look at Thierry Henry when he first came to Arsenal, was like very, very skinny. Like when he left Arsenal, he was a man, muscles and everything like that. So I don't see Pepe changing his shape or anything like that, or whatever. Same as Ndombele, he's the same big fella that he is when he first come. So I think there is a little bit of that, like but.
Is that something that we should be coaching into those players? Is that a Nuno problem, or for us the previous four, or is that more down to them?
I think it comes to a point, doesn't it? At some point where the player has to take
Yeah,
responsibility.
I think exactly right.
A coaching team can
At the end of the day, you just got to look at the Ndombele situation. We've had 4 managers since Ndombele's come in: Pochettino, Jose Mourinho, Ryan Mason, and Nuno. They've all had problems with him.
Yeah,
every single one of them have had problems with him, and that tells all you need to know, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that, Phil.
Yeah, it's shocking. Although I don't know if you read on the BBC Sport Gossip today, apparently we're linked with swapping him with Anthony Martial, and you're like, oh my God.
Martial.
That would be a disgrace.
Well, in the frying power into the fire, that one, ain't it? So he's another one that's never quite kicks on. But you just look at him and you just think, does he care? And I know that's a bad thing.
Whether they've, they're getting the salary, they've had the big move, the names out there, and if you think about wages wise, they're getting paid whether they play or they don't play. Nearly £1 million a month he's earning, so it's like it's not normal life, is it?
Yeah, and the other thing, I've never heard Pepe do an interview. So does he talk English? Does he, or is he going out there and trying to do it? I think that there's all things like that. It's all about attitude. You look at Ronaldo, what goes over and talks Spanish, can talk Italian. Jurgen Klinsmann, when he come over at Tottenham, is a prime example. Good English speaking and all that. They want to come over, but someone that's not even bothering to do the language, you have to question.
You
have to question.
Have to pay extra with effort. Phil, looking at the game on Sunday, then how do you see it going? What's your prediction?
I get definitely close. I'm going for my annual 2-1 Tottenham, but do you know what? If I didn't watch the game and someone phoned me up and went the score was 3-0, my first question would be who to, because I genuinely can't call it. I think for us, if we go with the right attitude and we do similar to what we did at the first half of Wolves and Chelsea, then I think we've got enough there to take it. But
if we play like we played in the second half against Wolves or Chelsea,
we're in trouble. Yeah,
maybe it'll be a draw because.
So if last Saturday someone had come along to you and said, right, you're going to win one and draw and lose one of the next 2 games against Arsenal and Chelsea, which way would you have taken the result? Which one would you have
lose
won?
against Chelsea, beat Arsenal?
Lose against Chelsea, beat Arsenal.
Yeah, same for the other way around if it's Arsenal, of course.
Yeah. There's no disgrace in losing to Chelsea, unfortunately.
No,
they're the best team in the league at the moment.
Yeah, they are. Wow.
I think they'll win the league all day long. I don't think there's anyone going to stop them. I would suggest them, United, Liverpool, Man City. That's my prediction for the 4. And unfortunately, win.
What's going on? Phil's a sensible Spurs fan. What's going on? What's going on?
Doesn't make sense, does it? Anyway, Phil,
you're too sensible, apparently.
So I'm ill.
Love it.
Big pleasure, Phil. Thanks for coming on, mate, and we'll see you next time. Hopefully, after 3 points. Come on.
Yeah. Speak to you Sunday then.
Speak to you, mate.
Phil.
Sensible Spurs fans, eh?
Well, we're quite sensible, aren't we?
He's the most sensible of the lot.
Exactly. The most sensible of the lot is coming on now. Mr. Irish Hotspur. Come on. Big up, Dave. How you doing, mate?
All right, lads. How are we? In absolutely flying form. No better time to be alive than North London Derby weekend, that's for sure.
Tell me about it. How you feeling coming into it?
Nah, look, I'm absolutely pumped, guys. I'm absolutely pumped. Look, how can you not be? Look, my feeling on it is, to be honest with you, lads, is that I think whoever wins this, I think it will be a springboard for their season. And I think whoever loses it, I think they're in for a long, hard season. And the reason why I say that is I was looking at some of the stats today, and is Arsenal actually create a lot of chances. I think they've created the 4th most chances in the league. They're just not taking them. Whereas Spurs, like you look at Tottenham, we haven't got the best out of Harry Kane, nowhere near it. Son's been, a bit injured, so we haven't got the best out of him, and we're still trying to find that perfect midfield. I just think whoever wins this, I do think will go on and have a springboard for the season, and probably will end up having the best season out of the 2 North London clubs. I don't know what you guys think, but I just want to say as well, Lee, look, you give me so many happy times watching you, especially when Arsenal lose, but I do want to say, I do love your analysis, my man. I think you're absolutely brilliant.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that, I appreciate it.
What midfield do you expect to see on Sunday? Because Ndombele played 90 minutes during the week. Do you really think he's going to start on the weekend?
Well, look, it's time for him to turn from Ronald McDonald into Endon Baller, isn't it? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, look, I just think with a player like that, right, I think we need to give up about trying to get the defensive side out of him. It's not going to happen. So for me, we have to put the legs in and around him, but they have to be players that want to do the running for Endon Baller and want to do the tackling for Endon Baller. And I think if you can play a Skip and a Højbjerg in behind him, I think we win this North London derby. I really do. I think Endon Baller is crucial to play because he's the only one, lads, that can break the lines with a pass or beating a player. You know, other than that, if we put an Ali or a Celso in there, we really do struggle to get the ball to Harry Kane. So I do think Endon Baller would be crucial. But as well, I think the aggression of the Tottenham team, it's a complete different Tottenham team aggression-wise than last year. Last year, we had a very soft underbelly. We were letting players run at us, beating 3 or 4 men at times, just free runs into the box. This year it's different. We've got Skip, we've got Højbjerg, we've got Tanganga. He's an absolute lunatic. You've got Romero in there. You know, we've a very aggressive team. And I just think maybe this could be what decides the North London derby.
Do Arsenal struggle against aggression, Lee? Are they a very aggressive side?
Yeah, no, we aren't. We're a little bit better now, obviously, with Partey coming in there. I think like that's the key battle, you know, Partey in there. If Partey stays fit, you know, he's class.
He's not going to be doing one of those Harry Houdini acts like.
This is what I'm saying. Is that like, when we played you, he was never fit. He shouldn't have never played in that game. But it does look like he's a little bit fit. It was interesting that he played 60 minutes on Wednesday, so they obviously like needed to get some more fitness into him, like, you know. So I think that's a key battle. I agree. You know, if you play them guys there. It depends who we play alongside it. If we go with Xhaka or Ødegaard, that is the key for me. I think that if we go with Ødegaard, I think with Smith Rowe, I think that then we can get in and around you. But who knows? It's a difficult one to say on that, like, you know. So
David, what would you prefer?
You know the answer. You just don't want to admit it, do you? You do.
Listen, I know what midfield I'd rather have, like, and it ain't with the one like. Listen, I'm not a big fan of Skip, I'll be honest, but you know, really? You've seen him more than me. But I'm pretty sure if Smith Rowe's up against it, so
he's had a good season, yeah. But David, talking about what Ali was just talking about, what midfield he'd prefer. Would you prefer Arsenal play Ødegaard and Smith Rowe in the centre, have a bit more guile but maybe lack a bit more aggression, or would you rather they have Granit Xhaka in there, who may be a bit more aggressive but on the ball might not be as good?
Do you know what? To be honest, I think either or suits us. Look, Granit Xhaka, he's very clumsy at times with his tackling. You know, we can pick up a lot of free kicks off him, and who knows? He could, his temperament could be called into question. Could end up getting a red card. As we all know, he doesn't respect Arsenal Football Club. He threw the jersey off the ground, and he's still playing in the centre of their midfield. I just think, for me, look, Ødegaard, I actually do think he's a good player. He's very good. He creates a lot of play for them. But if you have Højbjerg and Skip in there turning over the ball at the rate they have been so far, I think it's going to be easy pickings, because I think whoever wins this midfield battle, I genuinely do think goes on to win the game. And I just think Arsenal will be more aggressive. Look, will Smith Rowe and Ødegaard be up for the fight? Look, it's a different derby from last season because of the aggression of our team. We have a lot more aggression in midfield, so they won't have as much touches on the ball as they have done in the previous derby when Arsenal bet us. And I do think it doesn't matter. I honestly don't think it matters. Look, even if it's Thomas the broken down tank engine, remember Arteta having to push him on last season, and why we went up to score a goal. So I don't really think it matters who's in that midfield. I honestly not scared.
Wow. Okay.
I love that, Dave. I love that. Before we let you go, what score prediction are you going for?
You know what, lads? I just think this is going to be the turning point in Tottenham season. Look, we're yet to see a proper performance from this Tottenham Hotspur squad. You're going to have Kane fit, firing and ready. You're going to have Son there. Endon Baller's going to be back in there. And with the aggression, do you know what? Arsenal's defence, it's a real weak point. I actually think a tactical move, if we put Son on the right, put Brian Hill on the left. And the reason why I say Son on the right is because Tierney likes to get forward an awful lot. If we can turn the ball over with Skip and Højbjerg and get it straight down that side, Sonny's in all game long. He does leave a lot of space down there if we can turn the ball over. I'm actually going to go 3-1 Tottenham. And the reason why I'm giving Arsenal a goal is because, in fairness, I've looked at the record. I think they've scored in their last 20-odd something home games against Tottenham. And you have that. In fairness, I do call him lack a threat. but he has scored 3 out. He has scored 3 in his last 4 North London derbies. So
he always turns up against us, doesn't he?
He does, to be fair, but hopefully my nickname rings true, lack of threat. That'd be absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I'm going to go 4-1, guys.
4-1.
4-1.
3-1.
3-1. All right.
Harry Kane with a brace. I think he'll get his customary penalty and he'll get another. And I think someone will stick one in the back of the net as well.
And the 4th one got ruled out through VAR, I'm assuming.
I just want to say before I go, look, Lee, I know you don't like celebrating Harry Kane's goals for England, but I think, people should put pressure on you, raise some money for charity, and next goal he scores for England, we all want to see you celebrate, my man.
How about that, Lee?
That's it. Thanks for that, putting pressure on me like that, charity.
What, you don't care about charity, Lee?
Yeah, I know, so.
All right, Dave, much looking forward to probably going to be the biggest and the best pre-match pump-up of the season tomorrow. Tell everyone where they can find it.
Yeah, no, look, right here on We Are Tottenham TV. What time are we kicking off, guys?
Well, yeah, an hour and a half before kickoff, we'll say.
So 3 o'clock,
3 o'clock, yeah.
3 o'clock. Honestly, look, the last one the other day before Wolves was a very good one. But honestly, North London Derby is where I really come alive. It's where I really thrive. So, guys, make sure you tune in at 3 p.m. sharp. Even before that, get in early. You know what I mean? It's going to be an absolute cracker. Who doesn't want to see me full of confidence before North London Derby? And then you can thank me after we finish banking them.
Big
Love
up,
it,
Dave.
David.
Much looking forward to it, and we'll see you soon, mate.
Nah, big yourselves up. Great panel, and thanks for coming on the channel yesterday, lads. Really appreciate it. And We Are Tottenham TV Army. Come on, you Spurs in Nuno, we trust.
Spurs.
Love it.
See you soon, mate.
I want to ask you, actually, something he mentioned about Granit Xhaka. Because Spurs actually had a similar situation. We had a player called Hossam Ghali. He was back in 2007. He was brought on and then got substituted, and he took the shirt and threw it down. And he actually was still at Spurs for another 2 years, but never played again. He was on loan and whatever. And he actually was about to be brought on as a sub. And because the boos were so loud when he was stripped off and ready to come on, Harry Redknapp, the manager, decided not to bring him on, and we end up just getting rid of him. With the whole Xhaka incident, is that water under the bridge now, or do you think fans still hold that against him?
I think fans hold it against him, definitely.
Still,
yeah, I think they do.
I heard from Arsenal fans when you were looking to sell him in the summer, a lot of them wanted him to stay.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I think if he was playing really, really well and dominating midfields and that, the fans would forgive, because that's what fans are fickle. But he hasn't done the business, in my opinion. So for me, listen, it ain't the end of the world that he done that. Look, people do things when they're in the heat of the moment at football games. I've done things that I ain't proud of doing, because you're emotionally attached to the game or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but ultimately, a lot of Arsenal fans have not forgiven him. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you forgive him?
Yeah, I forgive him. I'm not a hater of that. You know what I mean? If I'll be honest, but ultimately, because of I've took my shirt off when I play games and all that. I remember once, I played a game and I played really well. I was coming off and all the fans were clapping me and everything like that as I was walking the tunnel, and I didn't wave at the crowd or thank them or anything. And my dad said, "If you ever do that again, I will never come."
Who did you used to play for? What was the situation?
So I was played semi-pro and all that, and so I was playing, and you just come off. You should just acknowledge the crowd, and I didn't, because I copped the ump because I was coming off. We was winning the game. It weren't but I was not happy that I come off. I sat in the dugout. You know what I mean? Maybe after the manager or whatever, and whatever, things that you do.
Yeah.
And then after the game, my dad said, "Look, don't ever do that again." You know what I mean? The fans are thanking you for your performance.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. So I remembered that night. So I think you should respect the fans, and they weren't actually booing him that day. When it was because he was not walking off quick enough. We wasn't winning the game. Right. So it was, it wasn't really having a go at him for that. But listen, his relationship with the Arsenal fans is checkered. There's, he was probably not happy with the fans at that moment in time, and so look, you forget about it and move on. But some people can't, So.
Interesting. Fantastic.
All right. I think that is all we
Right?
have time
Okay.
for today. But Lee, I want to say a massive thank you for coming
No,
on,
no.
coming into the studio as well.
Dare I say I enjoyed it, apart from the predictions of all you lot. But other than that, it's been good, like, you know.
No, it's been our pleasure having you on, Lee. Hope the fans didn't give you a too tough a ride.
Nah, listen,
There's even someone in the comments that said they were in your shop last week.
Oh, right, you know, so I hope I charged him double, like, you know. So, listen, at the end of the day, look, as I said, I try and, it's all banter. I do give the old Spurs fans a lot of stick, and I try to make them hate me as much as I can, but some of them quite like me, and obviously some don't, you know, so, you know, it's all, look, listen, I said this yesterday, when Spurs got relegated that year back in the 70s, a lot of Arsenal fans loved it, you know what I mean, but the following season, they didn't, because they didn't have the Arsenal-Spurs game. So, you know, you can't live without you, can't live with you, like.
Exactly.
So there you go.
The love to hate.
Yeah, it is, and I think there are, whatever way you look at it, you know, we don't like these games. I think from both, we don't like them because of, you know, what's on them, but it's the first fixture you look for.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
is.
You know what I mean? When we got Spurs at home,
The first fixture you look for that you don't want to look for, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So, you know, so there is that. There is always going to be that bit of banter, and that's how it is, because you've got fans that, you know. So, like, if you lose to Man United, I don't really. There's not that many of them about that, you know, and whatever. But with Arsenal, Spurs, you know, I've got family members that are Spurs fans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've got my nephew's name's Kane, believe it or not. Like, you know, so you've got like all that banter that you have, and that's how it is. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Definitely. Just before we go, there's a super chat here from Mintu Lee saying, I know I'm delusional, but I'm going 3-0. It's North London derby weekend. Let's go. Come on, you Spurs. And hopefully Ndombele starts. Coys. And we'll leave you on that one. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. We'll be back with you tomorrow for predicted lineup, and we'll have our preview with Lee as well going up tomorrow. And then it's the big day on Sunday. Pre-match pump-up will start at 3 o'clock with David Harris, moving on to the watch-along with John and Si, and then a post-match fan show where it's your chance to have your say. Looking forward to it. Me and Sim will be in the ground bringing you all the kind of latest from there. So let's hope for 3 points. It's North London derby weekend. Let's get up for it. Like, subscribe and comment, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on.